Hey everyone, I want to make this new video series to cover Dungeons& Dragons Online, which I recently returned back to. My wife and I played it extensively when we were working and living in Europe years ago, and I come back a couple of times and play it, and I never really got to the end game, but they have an expansion coming out. So I wanted to walk you through, like, if you haven't played this game, what do you need to kind of do to get started? Talk about some UI settings, some graphical settings, how to handle some of the UI resolution issues, movement keys, some of the real basic things that if you just log in with the base version of the game with the key bindings, you'll be like, oh wow, this is really weird. Like if you played WoW or Guild Wars or any other MMO or EverQuest, there'll be a lot of really strange things. So the goal of video is to kind of walk you through that, and then we'll follow that up with a secondary intro video to cover some of the initial decisions you need to make, how to start getting some of the really good gear, and then keeping the Borderlands like right away as soon as you get going instead of doing all the Korthos stuff. So let's just start by just making a basic character. I'm not going to run through all the different options that you have at your disposal, but in essence, this is D&D 3.0 from 1999 and 2000. All the classes, all the races, everything is pretty much covered here. And as a free-to-play MMO, you'll have a majority of these options available to you without having to pay for anything. So we're just going to let's just make a rogue. Okay, something very simple. Let's go male. We'll go down here. You have melee classes, then spellcasters and specialists. We're just going to pick a male character. We'll just do a rogue. We won't do anything too crazy. And let's just go ahead next. When you're at this screen here, it's very tempted sometimes to like pick a preset, and other people's videos will say the same thing. Don't pick the presets. You want to think about the classes. If you're on my channel, you're a D&D player anyway, and you probably remember all the decisions and the feats and the skills that they had in 3.0, and it's very truthful to that. Unlike Neverwinter, which started out as 4th edition and then transitioned into this really strange kind of blend between 4th and 5th, and then ultimately adopted all the ideas in 5th but kept the system pretty much like it was in 4th. So in this one, you're going to want to start off by customizing. This means you're going to get to pick all the stats and erases and things like that. As an MMO that's 20 years old now, over time they've added a number of core races. If you're going through all these and trying to make decisions, keep this more info tab open. Don't worry about the general ones. Get this big font, just says Drower, this, that, and the other. Not really that helpful. Instead, you kind of want to think about, okay, I want to roll this class. I want to make the starting stats, whether dexterity, intelligence, charisma, and playing a drow isn't going to necessarily make you evil. It's got the Dritstorden thing from the Forgotten Realms. So go through all these and think to yourself, okay, I already made a decision of which, class I'm pretty much going to do. Like in this case, I'm going to do a rogue. I want as much dexterity as possible. I always find that wood elves work great for that. So let's go back to here and pick a wood elf, and we'll change what they look like at the end. So initially, whatever they end up looking like, don't worry about that. You're going to get to choose that and change that around later. And if you want to see some of the options, you can ping male and female back and forth, and it just randomly will generate a look for the character. So let's just go next. I'm going to max out the dexterity in this one. It'll go up to 20, right? This is going to be, I'm going to play this as a longbow / crossbow oriented, ranged. Obviously, you're going to be able to do short range stuff too. In fact, I tell you what, let's go back a little bit and let's do this as a ranger. All right, and let's not do it as a rogue. Let's go back all the way to the beginning and let's go to a ranger. Let's do a ranger wood elf instead. By doing the wood elf, we're going to have a really good dexterity bonus. I can show you this right here if you want to see the option one more time. Male, female, back, spell, specialist. And let's go to next. We're going to pick ranger. Go from there and customize. Okay, great. And I'm going to hit next all the time. So we're going to go wood elf. That's going to give us a chance to get that dexterity up even higher, and we'll be able to focus on ranged weapons. So you can read this here if you want to. It's the same thing in all 3.5. Wisdom's a stat that's important for rangers, but I'm not picking a ranger because I think it's the most overpowered class. I always like to play a ranger, rogue, or a fighter because of the core gameplay method, the way they play, being ranged or being a melee-oriented class using a sword and shield. Get these to 10 at a minimum. You can see the point cost with a point array system like this. Get these basically to 10. I always recommend just bumping this up to at least get the +1 constitution bonus and maxing out the dexterity. The reason being your base attack bonus, if you remember that, it's the ascending armor class, is going to be better when you have high dexterity if you're using non-strength based weapons. Now, when it comes to stuff here, since I'm playing kind of a ranger, I've noticed in my gameplay that spotting at secret doors can make a big difference. So search and spot are going to be really, really important for you. The other ones like tumble are okay. It's not necessarily the greatest thing to pick. It does allow you to have a couple of like dodge rolls, which will have charges to it. We're not really going to run around stealthing or anything, so we could put move silently and things like that in there. I'm just going to pick a balance. A lot of times enemies will knock you down, so it's always great to be able to get back up relatively quickly. There's only 4 points left, so we could pick, oh gosh, we could pick maybe hide or move silently. So we're just going to put hide in here, and that's good enough for that. This is where a pretty important decision in the early, first few levels in old D&D 3.0. You're only getting a feat every now and then. You're not getting a feat at every single level. And I'm already planned in my mind, like, okay, well, I'm play ranged with this character. So, you can go through all the different feats. You're going to get to pick just one feat here and one favorite enemy. And then you're going to have these other, feats and things here. You can mouse over these to see what they do. Now, we're going to go for dexterity based ranged, which will also mean I'll use a rapier too to keep that threat range, higher. The rapier has always been a great, even to a lower base D6 damage number, because the threat range for critical is so much higher. So if you go down to some of the lower proficiencies, you'll see this here point blank shot is incredible. So you get a +1 bonus to hit with ranged attacks within 15 meters, so something that's closer than you would normally have. But you're going to do more additional damage. So therefore, if a weapon does 2d6, instead it'll do 1d6, it'll now do 2d6. If it did 1d8, it now does 2d8. That means your longbow was going to hit really hard when stuff runs up to you and attacks you. So we're going to pick that as a starting feat. The ranged attack in the game is extremely far for projectile weapons. Spells are really long range too, but not quite. And the way they handle the spell casting in 3.0 as it's modernized here in D&D Online is they use almost like a mana number, like a spell point system, which you will run out of, but you're never going to run out of arrows. So if you're going to play something basic in the beginning, I always recommend playing either ranged, martial ranged, or a martial melee combat. And then as you get a good handle on the game and start getting some free, some gear, you can set aside and save some of the caster gear you might need later. When it comes to a favorite enemy, for me personally, I'll probably just pick undead or something like that, because there are some undead later in the game that are nasty and they're always a pain to deal with. Doesn't really make a big difference in the beginning. If you want to pick something else, you certainly can. As you play through the game and get higher and higher level and see more and more difficult adventures you can do and get to epic level stuff, you may want to pick something that's a little more specific for your long-term plan. But let's just go ahead and do this. This is all a summary of everything we picked, right? We're just going to hit next here. Got to do the faces. Just do this really quickly. We'll just pick a crazy hairstyle that's not too nutty. And we'll just leave it at a dark black. Leave this a dark black. Leave these eyebrows like this. Put this as blue. Leave the nose fine. This isn't a character I'm going to play. I'm just going to do this to keep it simple. And there we go. That's good enough. Now we give it a name. We're just going to call it, I don't know, there's an island in the Maldives called Kuridu. Let's just call him that. And the last name, we'll call him, let's say Water Villa. Just for fun, because we're not really going to play this guy. I do think this is a good decision for you to think about. There will be weapons in the game that are aligned lawful or aligned chaotic, and some of them are very strong. And even at early levels, you're going to get these as pieces of loot that come out of a loot chest. So you want to think about, okay, I've noticed that there's more chaotic ones than there are evil ones, than there are lawful ones, and I haven't bumped into too many that were good versus evil. So just for the purposes of convenience and getting some stuff straightforward, I'm going to pick chaotic neutral, not necessarily, actually I think I'll pick chaotic good. That way you can use good and chaotic, all right? Then we're going to hit create. Now, it's going to give you the screen where your character's wearing like these torn out, dragged behind a concrete truck rags, right? Just hit enter, and we're going to walk you through this first basic few seconds of getting everything going. I've got an outline here of things I want to go through. This NPC Jeets is going to start yelling at us. So I'm saying, hey, can you move? Can you talk? And all that. First thing I want to do.
Oi, you ain't undead, are you? Memories of a large white dragon striking your ship come flooding back.
Okay, great. He'll intermittently say barks to us, but I'm going to, in between that, I'm going to get a couple quick things set up. You're going to see these really big, goofy, ugly font size tooltips. Just open it and click X to close it. Open or read it and put X to close it. The first thing you're going to want to do is, before we adjust the UI, is let's talk to this guy and get some key bindings going. So I'm going to...
you're awake. Oi, you ain't undead, are you?
Let's jump down to key mapping, and here's some of the key mapping I want you to think about, right? I want you to go to something that has a key bound to it now and hit clear.
Can you move?
So there's nothing bound to it. And set the first one here to MMO interact in orbit to button 0, all right? That doesn't make a lot of sense. In their key binding menu, button 0 means left mouse button. The right mouse button is considered button 1. The middle mouse button is considered button 2. And the right button on the side, if you have like
you're awake.
A Logitech Hero mouse or something,
dead, are you?
or a Razer Naga, is going to be button 3. So we want to bind that one to that. And the next thing we want to do is bind attack to button 3, which means the button on the side of the mouse will be the button that we hold down to attack all the time. Now, we don't have any weapons right now, so we won't do anything. And then I want you to go down here and bind to this classic interact steer, button 1. And then down a little lower here, let's go down to this camera setting. Let's go back to the beginning here. And we're about to get...
You ain't undead, are you?
We'll shut him up in just a minute. Just give me a second here. All right. There's button 1. We got movement keys. I use the arrow keys to move and strafe left or strafe right. Find a great jump. Find a great jump key for yourself. Here it is here. Button 2, toggle mouse look. This is really, really important key. It will allow you to toggle between free mouse like this, where you hold on the right mouse button like in World of Warcraft and target things, versus, and I've bound it to my middle mouse button, which is button 2, to like an action camera. See how there's a little reticle bound in the middle?
Oi, you ain't undead, are you?
If you've played Black Desert Online or anything like that, you realize, or Neverwinter, you realize how important it is to be able to move and do things with controls.
Speak to me.
They're just looking with the mouse bound and targeting things. You see, I'm just hovering over him and targeting him. Let's chat with him real quick and get him to shut up so we can go over the other details that are really important. All right.
What Lament said was true.
Okay.
No one but you made it to the island alive.
Come on.
It may be worth following this rogue.
Okay.
For now.
So, in AD&D Online, they have a dungeon master narrating things. He's going to wait here till we get a little closer. Once you get your other key bindings done to movement keys and things like that, later on you can worry about these other panels and things like that. Now, before we get too much further, I'm going to get him to go up here and shut up.
Follow me.
And then he'll be up here to give us a free weapon. And then I want to talk about the UI elements and how to place them that will really benefit you. So he's going to run up here to this little box, this little encampment. Now you'll notice as I look at things...
So you want a weapon or not?
Right, we want a weapon. Now be quiet. Just do this. We're going to grab a weapon from him. You can pick anything you want. You can hit I to open your inventory. He'll give you a free weapon. In this case, we're going to take a bow.
Feeling its balance, you can't help but notice this Jeets has more he wants to say.
Okay, and to keep getting these spams to the right. Now things are going to get much cleaner here soon. We've got to get through this rough, low resolution stuff first, and then we can move into the really good details. So, speaking of resolution, hit your escape key, go to options. Let's talk about the graphic settings. If you got a great laptop or a great gaming rig, obviously you can turn all this up as high as you want. The key thing I want you to remember is resolution. Like I'm running on a 4K machine, right? If I were to run this at the highest resolution possible, the UI gets really, really, really small. The great workaround is to run in 2560 by 1440. That's where we're at right now, okay? That's a really good resolution to use. The other thing you may want to do is adjust those audio settings so ambients are really loud, the Dungeon Master narration's not as loud, music's maybe a little softer, sound effects for combat are set a certain way. You can just change that to however you want it to be, right? There are a number of gameplay settings we want to adjust to, but we're going to do that a little bit later, all right? So, next, we got to fix the UI. So unlike a lot of other games where you have to press a certain key or open up a menu and start adjusting the UI, remember we have the mouse bound, unbound by holding the right mouse button like in EverQuest and WoW, or we hold the middle mouse button so we can look around like this. Release it by pressing your middle mouse button, and anytime you grab a UI element, you can grab it towards the top, and then you can hold the mouse button down and move it. So this will be my target. If I right-click in the world, there is no target, right? It's like this. So when I'm looking at something, it shows a target. I'm looking at nothing, it shows this whirling cloud. This is not a problem. It doesn't go away. It always stays open. And when you're in mouse mode, you can do things like this. So we're looking at him. where you use the mouse. We can click on this and do other actions. Later on when you're in a party or if you're two-boxing or whatever, you can like join, invite someone to a party or open a trade window with them and all that kind of stuff. So being able to switch quickly between this action mode, which is the best way for auto-targeting and shooting and fighting and stuff like that, is using that method as opposed to the WoW method where you're tab targeting and trying to target something and then shoot at it. I found that to be the most fast and responsive, quick way to play. Don't play it like WoW. Play it kind of like Neverwinter and some other action games where you got the mouse bound in all your combat. You're using that button on the side of your mouse to shoot things and do damage and do combat, and then you're only using the mouse when you need to interact with something. Now, when you bust open crates, you'll hear that sound of something dropping. You can go over to it real quickly and pick that up. In fact, let's bust a few more crates open here and see if anything else drops. We gotta wait for him to get done talking first. Here's a potion, for example. So if, unlike in Lord of the Rings Online, I could target it this way, but it's out of range. They won't auto-run you or pathfind you over to the object. So that's why I find that it works best to be in this action camera, and you just get a little close to it, and then this hand will appear. So when you're looking at something like that means I could talk to him. This is gonna mean, it's like the mouse cursor changing. I can pick these up. In the beginning, when you're first starting out, collect as many of these free potions as you can by busting every single crate you possibly can. All right, great. There's that basic stuff. Some other things we want to do with the UI is grab your own target frame and make it like this. I find this works really well. Grab your action bar, put that in the middle, right? Grab this chat window, bring it up a little bit bigger, drag the right-hand corner down to it sits nicely here on top of this. This is where all your other menu elements are going to be. They're going to be in here. You may even find a situation where you don't see some of them, right? This here is kind of like a number of dodges you have, right? And most of these things, if you mouse over them, are going to say what they are with a tiny little tooltip, right? Over here, we've got a little mini map. It's really small. And this is kind of like your objectives. So what I recommend you do is put this on top of it and bind the key M to the map and then drag the map down underneath here. This will tell you when you've completed an adventure. A checklist will go off as you complete things. It's really useful that way. And you can always grab the stuff while you're playing and move it around. Like, hey, I don't like how this is on top of my character. I want to bring it down here a little bit. Just remember the top region is where you're going to be able to pick the UI elements. All right, so we need to talk to him to progress things. Let's do that real quick. And we're going to have to...
Seremus is at the grotto. Tell her to keep her knickers on.
So, when you get quests in the game, obviously kind of like in World of Warcraft and other games, they have that really loud sound. Shipwreck Shore, quest has been advanced. It'll show up in the upper hand window. If you have a key bound, like I like to bind Q to it because I don't use the WASD to move, you'll see you have an active quest. On your map, if you notice here, you can grab the corner of the map, and remember, you can move it wherever you want it to be. It doesn't have a zoom function on it. If you roll the mouse while you're zooming your camera, you can see that in the background. But see this flashing door? Because that's our current quest. Their map is really small and really hard to see. So what you can mouse over objects, and the information will appear at the bottom. Like this is going to be me, right? You are here. This is the grotto. If you read the quest, the offshore adventure notes solo in the shipwreck shore bestowed to me. Enter the grotto, level 1, medium, and link. This is all really good information. There'll be more descriptions later on where it says select area. You have all these different places you've been where you've collected quests. You'll be like, oh, I got this quest to kill this named wizard. I don't know where it is. Oh, I see. It's in this one dungeon. Let me get to that zone first. So bind a key to that quest interface so you can open and close it, and find out where things are. And when you're trying to figure out, hey, I need to do this quest, but I just got a new one. I was doing another one. Go back and look at it, and then remember, once you're in the zone, it'll highlight and flash where you need to go do things, right? And you also saw as I rolled the mouse wheel, the camera moved further out or moved in closer. I personally like it kind of close. It's more like a shooter camera or a Warframe camera. Okay, so he wants us to go on. We're going to get this guy here.
Seremus is in the grotto. I shall show you the way.
I'm going to pop these crates along the way to pick up extra stuff. The money you get in the beginning isn't really that much worth picking up. You can just do it to get used to picking things up. You're going to get a lot more platinum, which is the main currency. Like nothing's really for gold pieces, hardly at all.
This is all from dragon-wrecked ships like yours.
He's referring to stuff that was in the opening cutscene, which you may or may not have watched. It's up to you. So we had the quest. We had to go into this grotto, and there's items. We're just picking up a few items. Copper pieces we don't really care about. This is another detail I want to talk about. So you're running around like this. If you come into surfaces and push into them, you'll just step and climb over them. Or you can just push and jump on top of them. You'll find that happens a lot. You'll come into situations where there's a place where you can jump and grab and pull yourself up. There's a lot of quests in the early part of the game where that's really, really important. So we're going to go up to here and have this quest. We need to go into this room here, right? This happens every time you enter an instance. Let's get rid of these again. They start off either solo or normal, hard, elite, and Reaper. You have to complete one difficulty level before you can do the next. So therefore, like for example, with my higher level characters, I'm running one place every day, like 2 or 3 times in a row to get different loot for alternate characters at like elite level, right? And so when you get further and further along, you realize, okay, I can do this as normal. If you're 2-boxing with a healer or another character you're leveling at the same time, because then you get to take advantage of their hirelings, right? Their mercenaries. You'll pick different skill levels. But in this case, this is really basic, the most simplistic tutorial possible. We're going to run through it real quickly here.
The cleric you were sent to find?
I have bound keys to different buttons down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put spot here, and we're going to move. We have these little potions we got earlier. We're going to put these down here, and we have 2-weapon fighting on this key. We're going to put this to here because I have it bound to it, so I can do this and drink a potion if I get in trouble. I'm going to put sneak on this, and this is wild empathy. We'll put this here so we can toggle sneak on and off. And we can hit something with the melee weapon here. And we're going to take this and close this down. You'll notice in your inventory you have this lesser Heart of the Wood. This is part of their reincarnation system that you won't worry about till you hit like level 20. There's tons of videos on YouTube that talk about reincarnation. I'll probably never talk about it. It basically is a way for you to push your character all the way down to level 1, change their class, change their race, and take the benefits from the previous max level character. There's all kinds of ways to do that. Okay, so we're going to go to this girl here. This is going to be a little NPC basic introduction with some combat, opening some doors, some swimming, all that kind of stuff, right?
First, I shall surround us with a protection spell.
Her spell temporarily prevents you from dying, though you can still suffer injuries.
That's not something in the game system. It's just for this one tutorial.
When you leave these
and she's going to open a door. And
now, let's be about it.
So, you know, this is about the quality of the graphics you're going to get. The water shader's still pretty decent. The lighting's still pretty decent. The characters are not bad. It's like Lord of the Rings Online quality.
Try up that ladder. I'll remain here and bash any Sawagan trying to sneak out.
You will find that there's a lot of water and swimming, and your breath is really short. Like you could start taking damage if you run out of breath, kind of like you would in World of Warcraft. When you have a ladder like this, you don't have to press any kind of special interact key. You just need to walk up to it and press forward. And while you're on the ladder, you can rotate your camera. Remember, we're using this type of camera, whether you hold the right button down or the middle mouse, and we can look around everywhere. So if you look up, it's relative. So pressing down goes up and forward goes back. But if you're looking this way, pressing forward will take you up the ladder. And when you get done climbing the ladder, you'll automatically dismount. You'll need to press jump or anything. And you'll see this is the whole, as long as you press forward, you'll climb up surfaces that are a certain height. If something's too tall, you can press and jump. Now these are all tutorial areas to tell you where to go. Let me get this closed down. I can't stand these things. So in essence, she wants you can see up here in the corner, drop through the crevice. They're trying to give you a sense of like, okay, am I afraid of taking falling damage? How big is this? I'm in a 3D space. Let me just jump down to here first and then maybe jump down to here if you're worried about falling damage.
And wheezing of some creature coming from the corridor ahead.
So they have a male and a female Dungeon Master voiceover. It's pretty cool. It gives you some idea of like what's happening next. If you really kind of embrace the game as if it was originally created as opposed to being a power gamer MMO player, you find some of that stuff's kind of cool. And you know, this is teaching you combat, like the first time you get to fight anyone, right? So they're telling you all you really need to do when the action mode. Remember, if we're in this mode, we'd have to click to target this guy, but he's too far away, right? If we have a key bound to nearest target, it won't pick him up. But if we're in this mode, and even though he's not highlighting, and because I'm using a bow, I can still hit him from here. So let's get just a little closer. And let's do this. Now, notice down here is a D20 roll happening, right? We're going to grab that real quick and move it in the middle. It will fade away after a few seconds, so if you miss doing that, next time you're in combat, like reach over at the middle mouse button, the mouse, and interact with it. So highlighting is key. Instead of using like a rim shader or anything like that, when you're this game has so many levers, like everything is always a lever. There's a lever or a button, or there's pictures of gems on top of passageways, green gem, green lever. In this situation, you know, it's very celebrated, showing you all these details. See how this is highlighting, and when you get a certain distance away, it'll actually say what it is. You may find sometimes that, like, even if you're playing a thief, that you're searching for traps like this and trying to find a trap, and you find a control panel, and so you want to look at it and then get close enough to interact with it. So from a distance, we can tell what things are. As we get closer, this reticle will change it to interact, and now we can actually use it, and then the quest will update and tell us what's going on. So it's very straightforward.
Good job, but no time to dawdle.
And these are all NPCs. We have no control over them.
To assist you. Onward to glory.
Selimus isn't too honked at me. Thanks for putting in the good word. Don't you worry, Selimus. I'm here to watch your behind now.
So the whole game doesn't have these type of obnoxious NPCs with you.
So
you will end up
behind this door. I'll take point. Talbron, cover me with your spells. Jeets, kill anything that tries to flank us. You, open the door.
Okay, great. You will run into situations where you're always using a mercenary or a hireling to help you, whether it's a cleric or a bard or a fighter or whatever you want to do. You don't need to have a party, even though you can play a party with your friends. It's always great to have an NPC that's the same level as you. When you get out of this tutorial level, you'll be able to pick some of those up, and you just pay in-game coin for it. So we're going to open this door here.
Charge! What, it's empty?
Oi, where's the bloody Sawagin?
Look, the door closed behind us.
It would be logical to assume.
So there's a combat sequence. The NPCs are going to handle everything. You don't really need to do anything. This guy is on me. Let's just go ahead and shoot him a few times to get rid of him. And there's multiple ways of this, whether it would jump down from above. And your range on the ranged weapons is pretty darn far. Another thing you can do, you can target something quickly and then shoot, and while the animation is playing of shooting, it'll still auto-target and auto-aim the thing you highlighted when you started shooting. And with your auto attack, with your attack button, it's not an auto attack being toggled. What you're doing is you press and hold. So as long as you press and hold, it'll continue to shoot and fire. Now, this guy's going to open this passageway for us.
Can't pick this.
Needs a key. You can't open it.
Good work. I see a key down there. Who's up for a swim?
So in this situation, this is one thing I was talking about earlier. When you're underwater, you have a breath meter. If you let it run out, you're running out of breath. So you basically want to try to find the object you're looking for and then get over there and pick it up. It's a little harder to see when the camera's close, but you're going to grab this little key.
You grab the silver key.
We're going to press jump to go back up. Or if you wanted to, as soon as you hit the surface, your breath completely regenerates. You could just look up and go forward and go up. And once you get on the surface, you don't sink. You have to worry about, treading water. Your character automatically tread water and stay above the surface. Come to the ladder and get out.
I knew you'd come in, Andy. This way.
And now you can actually open a door, and they're just going to keep feeding you these big, goofy font tutorials. But after you get out of this tutorial level, you want to do this anymore. So we're going to go up here and use the door. It already knows we have the key. We don't have to find the key in our inventory. That happens all the time. Once you get the key, you own it. The game already knows you have it. You don't have to click on everything.
I'm weary. Let's take a moment to rest.
So unlike 5th edition, where it has a short rest,
I've still got plenty of stamina.
or where in 4th edition, where you have healing surges, if you're not using potions or you're not using heal spells, you want to use these rest shrines. There's also resurrection shrines. How does that work? Okay, so if you were a caster, this bar here would be full of blue. It'd have a bunch of spell points, maybe 250, and every spell you would cast would cost a few points. Once you use all the points up, like mana, you wouldn't be able to cast any more spells. That's when you want to use what's called a rest shrine. All right. Now these are all over the game world, and they're interspersed almost like checkpoints. The yellow one or gold one is a resurrection shrine. If you die, you can run back over this and resurrect at it. If your hireling dies, they're going to leave like a rune on the ground that you can pick up, and if you run back to the shrine, you can res them there, but they'll automatically resurrect. Now she's a caster, so she's resting at the shrine to get her points back. I took 1 point of damage, so if I interact with it, I'll get health back. I could just take a potion, but just to show you about how long it takes. So whether you're a wizard or a sorcerer or a cleric or whatever class you're playing, if you're in an adventure or in a dungeon, you get your spell points back or get health back.
Go and scout ahead
right?
with Jeets.
That's about how long it takes. It only takes like 15, 20 seconds, and you're ready to go to the next area. Okay, so I'm not playing a rogue. So this sequence here talks about traps. This door's got this trap on it. They want you to ask him to disarm the trap. If you were playing a rogue, you get to disarm it yourself. Interesting though, watch how the traps work. It's kind of interesting where you see the trap, you ask him to disable it, he'll go over here and look for it, right? And a little control panel will appear, and that's how traps work in the game. Every single trap, whether shooting acid or flames or spikes or anything like that, they all can be disabled, and a lot of them can be spotted. We're going to see how spot works here in a second. So now we're just interacting with another object. Going to open a door, and it's telling us where to go. Proceed to the rest of the cave. They're coming now too. That's great.
You two having fun? It's time for us to go. The High Priestess should be up ahead. The onus for much suffering rests squarely upon her slimy, webbed
Okay, before we go
hands.
too further, they're talking and have these big icons over their head. You can bind a key to hide their names, like I've just bound it to F2, right? So let's just show you where that is real quick. You can go back to here and go to the key mapping, and you'll see when you're in public areas, whether players, like all their character names and maybe titles and guild names, it just comes really cluttered. And if you want to hide that stuff, just go bind a key to it. So you'll see down here, I'm bound to F2 down below here to hide and display names. So it's a toggle. Here it is. Floaty names, it's called. And you can toggle the frame rate on and off if you want to. That's really useful. I didn't mention the block attack button. That's going to be super useful when you get a horse, which we're going to get pretty quickly here in the Keep of the Borderlands. But for the other ones like this, I use Ruin Arm. I'm just gonna clear it. I don't need that one. And you don't have to hit save. Like, it's so old school. The moment you change it, boom, it's remembered. Like, I don't really need the frame rate number on here. But be sure to bind a key to page. It can be any key you want, but bind a key to block an attack. It's not going to be like Dark Souls or something where you have to block and dodge, roll all the time. You can block attacks.
I'll open the door. Prepare yourself.
It's mostly going to be used to dismount from your horse.
Go.
So we'll just take care of this business. Now you notice how there's a number of enemies. It's this one is in the way, right? It's kind of hard to target one over the other. So you want to sometimes reposition yourself to make you get a clear shot of what you want to do. It's the same thing with spells. Like if I cast the spell this way and the enemy's in front of it, it's going to hit that one. If you've played Guild Wars, unlike EverQuest, you'll notice these action-oriented games always do that. It's like a line-of-sight trace from your character to the target, and if you cast a spell or shoot a projectile, it's an actual actor in the world, it will hit the first thing it hits. We're almost done with the whole adventure. This is just, you'll see that every time you do any adventure or dungeon or kill an elite, they always have these chests, right? They're always fun to open a chest and get a reward. A lot of times they're random. They're not something you ever have to pick. In a few adventures you'll find sometimes there's one you need to pick, but it's not so much that you feel like, oh, I don't have any fun unless I'm playing a rogue, right? So get close to it, pick it up, make this cool sound effect. And then you can mouse over everything there, and if you got compare items turned on, you'll be able to see how does that compare to what I have now. Like, for example, my situation, this short bow is a 1d6 weapon. I'm using a 1d8 weapon. They're both attack modifier by Dex, which we talked about earlier in making the character. It's considered masterwork, so it's +1 to hit, whereas my regular crappy moldy longbow is not +1 to hit. So this one would have a better chance to hit. We could pick this as we're going to get all these items anyway. It does an additional point of fire damage, but it's going to be less damage overall because the +1 isn't making up for the D8. But we're going to get all this. We don't have to pick one. When you complete a quest at the end, like we're going to do here shortly with the cleric NPC, she's going to offer you, hey, here's 20 rewards. You can only pick one. But when you're doing chests, you can take it all, or you can just pick one item and leave the other junk there. It's an instance. No one else is going to take it. And of course, with a free-to-play game, they have shards where you can re-roll all this if you wanted to. So you can mouse over every item and see what it's like. Let's just grab the stuff, and then we'll take a look at our inventory. Now, armor, you can't swap armor out really quickly like we can swap weapons, and we're going to set up some weapon swaps real quickly here. But you just double-click the armor, and it'll start to equip it on your character. And then down here on your character sheet, I'm using the inventory button to open and close the character sheet, hit details. And you can see that as let's put the other crappy rags on, the armor class dropped down to 15. So once you've equipped it once, it still takes time to re-equip it. So you're not going to be switching armor in the middle of a fight thinking you're going to cheese the system. It won't let you do that. This is a ring of water breathing, but it has charges. Sure, you don't have anything right now, equip it. You already have some arrows. You don't really need to worry about that. But let's give you an example of how to bind this stuff. So I bound keys to my action bar, which you can see here. And let's go to escape and options. And we'll see we've been going through key mapping, right? Don't mess with this default FPS style stuff. Just make it the way you want it to be. You'll see that once you get past the interact keys and then the movement section, right? Then you get down, if you hold the mouse over here, you'll see your camera scrolls. The scroll bar is right here. You can grab it and drag it. Or the camera buttons, you'll see down here we have panels, character, inventory panel. I bound it to I, so I can toggle it on and off like this. The character sheet will open the character sheet, like we have our stats here. Q for the quest journal, like we saw that earlier. And like any other UI element, we can move that somewhere else if we want it to be somewhere else. There's a show scroll panel that shows your guild, and it shows people looking for groups. You can do a who is. You can create your own guild if you want to. That's for no cost, quite easy. There's a DDO store, which will sometimes flake out, right? Sometimes it loads quickly, sometimes it loads slow. They'll actually have a quest where you interact with their DDO store. You guys should buy like +4 gear in here, but you don't need to do any of that. You're going to get so much loot in the game, you don't need to spend any money. Rebind the key to the map panel, anything like that you want to do, right? Dungeon status, we could hit that and see where we are, right? Let's put the map back on. Let's turn the dungeon status back on. That's this upper right-hand corner. I always leave it on. It has 3 different states. The one with the background, a translucent one, and there's also a little hide button here. I like to leave it on like this as well. Floaty names I mentioned a few minutes ago and things like that. All right, so let's go and bind a key. I had bound these hotbars to buttons I like insert, home, page up, page down. So for example, we're now going to create a weapon swap for this bow versus this bow. So what I just drag them into these empty green little squares across swords. So let's put the regular bow here. Let's put that one here, and I bound a key 1 and 2 on my number pad, so I can now switch between the 2 bows. So that's the short bow, and there's a long bow. You can do that in combat. There's no weird restrictions for when you can and can't do it. So when we get a melee weapon, it'll be really easy, such as a range class, to switch really quickly between the 2 weapons. And and she's back here making a bunch of noise. That you don't need to worry about that.
Senses are tingling. There's something fishy in this room. Try searching around.
Okay, this is an important lesson. You'll find that there's a lot of secret doors, just like in the original Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. There will be secret doors that have elite bosses behind them, wings to dungeons you need to open up. It's really, really good to make sure your character has spot, right? And you're gonna all characters are gonna get this ability to search, right? But the difficulty check versus the bonus you have, you're gonna want to do it.
A stiff draft from somewhere in this room.
So
perhaps the hidden passage to the village is in here.
All right, so they give you a tutorial. They're tipping you off. Find the secret door, right? Use this search ability here. You can bind the key to it. And if the marker that appeared over my head told me that something was there before I got to it. So as I was running around, I went shabang and made this sound effect, right? When that sound effect happens, just stop moving immediately and try to search. You'll find that in some dungeons you're running around, you have NPCs with you, and it's going pow, 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 making this noise all the time because they're running past a secret passage, and you may not be able to find it. They're always like this. Like you can see that once it's been detected, it's right here. All you gotta do is run up to it and interact with it. There's never anything weird about it.
Tidy lasses and pints up the wazoo. Here I come.
We're almost done here. The way out is up ahead.
There was nothing ever really tricky about them. Just once you spotted them, you've got them. When you play through adventures multiple times, because there's probably like thousands of these things, it's just insane how much content they've made in the last 20 years. You'll kind of end up memorizing a dungeon that you've run through a lot, that things don't move around. They're not random secret doors everywhere. Now, she was yapping about give me a reward, right? And we're going to get rid of this little tutorial over here. And let's talk to her real quick. And I mentioned this earlier, so she's going to give you a reward. Okay, great. Now we have to pick. When it says quest reward, remember you can move all this stuff. You're like, oh gosh, let me make a decision. You may find situations where like you're running an adventure and you run it once, and at the end you get to pick an item, but you wanted 2 of them. You could go run it a second time and just repeat the quest. There's no reason why you can't do it. It'll reset everything back to 0. Then you can pick the other item. I mean, that's fantastic. And all the stuff is transferable on your account. So if you're just playing one account, in this situation, like I really want to grab this rapier, right? I'm going to take the rapier as my reward. And I'm actually going to set up my key binding for this, for my weapon swap. They've all left. All I have to do now is leave the dungeon. We're going to take this bow here. We're going to pull this off. We're going to put this here. And this is automatically updated down here. So now I switch between the rapier, right? This little flame rapier, and my bow. So when you're fighting with melee and you have a weapon out, you can move around and attack. But this is something really important I want to show to you. Down here, you can see the bonus to hit. You see this? It's really fine font. 1d6 plus 5 pierce. The threat range is 18 to 20, which means if you're rolling 18, a natural 18, or 18, 19, or 20, you're going to crit, which is great. I love that about rapiers. It's a finesse weapon. So, you know, it's using my dex modifier. It could use strength, but, you know, they cheated that. It's really a finesse weapon. When you are fighting in combat, notice that when I move, that only goes down to +3. When I stand still just for a second, I'm getting a bonus. They have that throughout the whole game. It was something they had in Lord of the Rings Online, also developed by Standing Stone Games, where you could turn that off. I have not seen a way to turn that off in the game. It's actually kind of fun to think to yourself that, yeah, you could wig out and spin around in circles and start attacking stuff and move constantly, and that's great, nothing wrong with that. But if you really get in a bad situation, you need to position yourself somewhere, block a doorway, and get that extra bonus to hit. All right, let's go back to our bow. And we're going to leave here and talk about some gameplay settings, and then we'll end this video here, and then we'll talk you through the first few quests you should do and which ones you can skip.
Have threatened this place for generations. Judging from how it looks now,
okay,
the Sahuagin are winning. However, some hopeful souls still hold out for help to arrive.
Okay, great. So now this is called Korthos Village. It's a starter village. You know you're in the starter state when the snow is coming down, which is related to a dragon that you can confront later on in another quest. You'll have this quest marker over someone's head to go talk to them. Let's just go grab that real quick. This is a tutorial on how to bind your character, so when you die, you respawn in a spirit binder. We're going to do that real quick just to show you a couple of details. And you'll notice that right here, this Kragan the Gatekeeper will take you to the Keeper on the Borderlands, which is fantastic. You get a mount, one of the best shields you can get from levels 1 to 10. There's, oh gosh, there's all kinds of goodies. You get the mantle of permanent featherfall. There's 15% speed boots. I'll do a follow-up video that walks you through how to kill all the elites and where they're located to get their like heroic chest to have all those items in it. And you can do it at level 1. Do it at level 2. It's just a little bit easier. All right, so we got a quest a moment here ago to go get our spirit binding thing done, right? And they're just teaching you. Now, if you look in the scene here, you can see this guy has a marker over his head. If we hid all the names, we can still tell who has something for us and who doesn't. Like, these are all trainers, right? So they can use an icon versus the words. So if you're someone that doesn't like all the goofy words, the black highlighter, where you can play a little bit more hardcore and it feels more, it's more immersive. Now, remember, we have a quest we just picked up. Well, what are we supposed to do? Remember, hit this right here, hit your quest button. You can see what you completed. It will always show that. How to bind your character, and to help, this is telling you to go talk to Kasia, right? This is Kasia Baldata, or however you want to pronounce it. Right. Let's grab this one too. And and we'll close this. So now we have 2 quests. Which one is the one we want to do? Which one is highlighted on the map? You can probably guess here, right? So this one's highlighted. This doorway, and you can see the map which way I'm facing, right? That doorway right there, you see these 2 crazy little spinning gold icons, little tornado type icons? That means this is an area you can access if you're on a quest. It's a quest area. And it doesn't have a swirly portal in it or anything like that. Now now the next one here, now we've changed that to help her. She's this NPC here. She's got something for me to do here. And then we have a tutorial to bind your character, and it's pointing at this location here, which is the inn. So you'll get better at doing that over time. You can close the map if you want to. The mini-map is always just too small. I like to keep this as my mini-map to some degree and pull it up here so I can see how things are going. At this point, you're like, oh gosh, now I'm getting a little overwhelmed. I have 3 things to do. What I recommend you do right away is just go ahead and go bind yourself. Remember, the inn is this area here. You can see where yourself is on the map, which way you're facing. Run to the doorway, and then boom, they're telling you more information. If you're really damaged and you go back to a tavern, this is where you can reset your spells. You'll rest and get a lot of health back. Most people use a rest shrine. You'll see quests that you can't do yet. Like that one's highlighted with a chalice, but it's hollow, so I can't actually do it yet. You'll have NPCs you can interact with, or you can buy things, see what she has for sale. This will happen a lot to you, where you interact with an NPC and their panel will be behind your other UI elements. Just grab it and move it, right? So once you've moved it once, you'll find that it tries to remember recently where it was last set up. So you can go in here. If you've got damaged gear, you can repair it. You want to buy something, you can look through here. We don't really have a lot of money now because we just started, or you could sell things if you got some loot. We could sell these arrows if we wanted to, right? Now we want to get the quest binding done, so let's go do that real quick. This is the binder guy. We'll talk to him. If I fall in battle, bring me back. That's great. I want to be resurrected here. There, this is the spot. Now we're almost done with the video. I want to go over a couple more little details, and then we'll switch to something else. Okay, so as you run through the town doing that, you'll notice, oh, there's other quests over here as well. So let's go ahead and pick those up. This is just a spastic. So now we got 3 different quests. We can do them whatever order we want to. I recommend you do this first one right here first, which you can look on the map and see which one it is. This is the this is Hayton's Rest. You could do the Storehouse Secret, which is something in this warehouse over here, and then you have this other one to help Kaja, who's right here behind us. I would recommend you do all those first. Then you'll eventually be sent to do one where you go into Korthos Island itself, this large massive outdoor world space, as opposed to instances. Once you get to that point, do the first couple of quests here, like rescuing someone. Like, we're not on the right quest to do this yet. We need to do the other stuff first. In the next video, we'll do some of these. Do these basic quests first, and then when you get to the Korthos Island, we're going to do a few of those, and then we're going to exit out of the area and skip the rest of the storyline and go straight to the Keep on the Borderlands. Now, here's something very interesting. If you have played an alt or another character that's higher level that's been collecting gear, you can go put that in the bank, and you can have that in a shared bank if you're VIP, and then you can have this other character pick it up. So if you're like, oh gosh, I've gotten all this rogue gear, let me let my rogue use this stuff. All right, I promised I was going to go through these options before I stop this video. Let's go through them quickly. Graphics we talked about, advanced graphics we talked about, audio is fine, UI settings. These are interesting. You could read through them yourself and figure out what they do, but these are the ones I like to do. Show cooldowns on shortcut bars. Yes, you can have that on there, so if you use something that has a cooldown, it'll tell you how much time is left. The network status you don't really need. Allow cursor activation of mouse look, definitely want that. So when you're in this mode here, that the cursor will activate, so you don't have to come out of the mode to do things. You could click don't show hits. Hey, let's do that. We don't need to be told how to play anymore. You could reset them all if you wanted to. So a show leave dungeon confirmation is a good one, because you'll be at the end of an adventure and you want to leave, and you'll hit recall and it'll say you haven't finished yet. So that's always really good. Party requests are great. Guild requests are fine. Trade requests, turn the challenge thing off. I don't think you really need that. Show overhead names, you can turn that on and off, but we've got a key bound to toggle this quickly, so you don't really need to leave that. Just leave it on show. Show creature companion floating names. Enable auto breakables and soft targeting. All these you want to have on. The only thing that you probably don't want to do is there is percentage values on vitals. Do you see this down here? I'm 41 of 41, which is 100%. I don't find that very useful. It just clutters up. I just want a quick glance and see that I have 41 health. You're going to be a particular level for a long period of time. You don't need to show that. Set that to large. That's fine. Tooltip delay. If the tooltips are too long, you can change the combat dice to whatever you want it to be. So those are the main things you want to kind of activate. Just turn off the challenge things. You don't get people trying to duel you all the time. Those are going to be probably the most useful in gameplay. Okay, Most of these by default are set pretty well. You don't have to really worry about them being, oh, it's set to this stupid setting and I don't like it. The mouse setting I found to be initially the mouse was way too sensitive, so I turned it down really, really low. You may want to do the same thing. The troubleshooting tab, you don't really need to worry about this. Just leave all this on automatic. And of course, key bindings, you can bind them to whatever you want them to be. I made a couple of quick notes here about the big thing you want to remember, besides changing the UI to however you want it to be, once again, it's going to be the graphic level. I find that if you're in a 4K monitor, that this resolution is pretty darn good. If we set it and turn all the anti-aliasing and everything on, if you set it and turn the gamma down a little bit so it's not so washed out like this, I find about 0.9 works really well. Yep, he's very excited about his new sword. And so that's a real good starter for you. Get in there, start playing, try a bunch of different character classes, play through like the first 10 to 15 quests, get a sense of what they feel like, and then from there you can start having a great time. There's probably 5 years of content that you'll never finish if you played every day. I mean, it's 20 years of content. It's just insane how much content there is. Okay, that's it for this quick video. We're going to get back into the next ones and show you some of the quest markers and details about combat. Talk to you soon.